Hi, I'm Katie. Welcome to Yoga Awakening, and welcome to week 3 of our at-home series, all about doing yoga at home in your own space. And we've been talking about building and evolving that home yoga and meditation practice. And this week we're talking all about meditation. So our theme on the blog this week was deepening our practice off of the mat. And of course we're on our mats for our practice today, but that's because we're doing some yin yoga this time. So we're doing a more meditative and introspective style of yoga. And this is one of my favorite styles of yoga to teach and to do. So I hope you enjoy it as well. And you will need some props for your practice today, and I'll show you what I've got. You certainly don't need to have exactly the same thing that I have, but I'll show you the general sizes and things we're looking for. So first thing to have nearby is a bolster, and a great substitute for that is just a pillow. A pillow from your bed. It could be a pillow or two from the couch. You can have one or two of these. It's hard to have too many props in yin yoga. Then I've got a blanket here. You could use a more traditional yoga blanket for folding up. I've just got one from my bed. And then last but not least, I've got a couple of blocks. I have wooden blocks. They can be any sort of material you like. And if you don't have blocks, I usually recommend a couple of big books. And it can be nice to fold those up in something like a thin kitchen towel just to make them a little bit more comfortable and to protect your books. All right, we'll get started here in a seat. And I like to take my blanket and then fold it up like that and bring that just underneath the hip. So I'm almost sort of falling off my blanket. I'm right on its front edge, and that just allows the pelvis to tilt forwards and gives you a little more space through the back of the body. So find your seat. It can be this seat. Maybe you opt for no blanket or for a block. You could sit on your pillow. And this is where it will begin. So start to settle in to your space. You can dim the lights if you like. Close your eyes or soften the gaze. The muscles of the face start to relax. See if you can undo a little bit of that gripping if you're doing this practice, perhaps towards the end of the day, whatever you've been holding in the muscles or in the energetic body. Let's start to release that. Just following your inhale and your exhale. We'll focus on something really simple in our shapes. And that's just the practice of allowing. That's something we looked at in more depth this week in the blog, where we were talking about meditation and what meditation really means. And it all starts with this allowing. Allowing your experience to be as it is. The next practice we'll talk about becoming the observer We have lots of different ways of talking about this really natural experience. Just our experience of our experience of ourselves. Allowing yourself here as you're seated to feel whatever is arising. So maybe you notice some pleasant sensations. Maybe there are some places as well of discomfort, somewhere in the body or in the mind or the emotions. We'll spend a few more moments here allowing. Relax any gripping through the hips. Relax the shoulders. Allow the belly to move freely. What is here for you in this moment? And maybe that's nothing in particular yet. Just the feeling of being in your body. Maybe you're noticing some thoughts, or maybe there's a particular emotion that you came into the practice with. Together, let's take 3 rounds of intentional breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose or mouth. Inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. And exhale. You can softly open the eyes if they were closed. And we'll start to find our way into our first shape. So our yin practice is a little different from our yang practices, like our vinyasa flows, in that we'll be really using those props that we have to support the body, and we'll also be staying a while in the shapes. So thinking about a little bit of sensation, but looking for the time to do the work. So less sensation, more time. So that's our idea here. And for our first shape, you can grab your blocks. You can also opt to do this pose without the blocks. I'll show you the 2 options. So we're coming into puppy pose, or heart to earth pose. I like this one with the blocks, and I like to bring them pretty wide, and I turn them out. So coming in the bottom corners and then out towards the outer edges of the mat. And then your forearms are going to go like this, resting on the blocks. So you can give that a try. I like to start with the forearms there, and then hands will come off, and then I just start to walk my knees back. And that's kind of your lever. You could always bring another prop for the head if this already feels like there's a little bit of tug. We're just looking for kind of that sensation before the stretch. And then maybe you have a little more space to come down. You could rest the forehead on the mat. And it's nice to set up in such a way that you have a little bit, that you have the hips a little bit behind the knees, and that should help the legs to relax. Your other option, no props. Forearms probably a little closer together, roughly parallel, and then you'll lean back here. So those are your two options. Start to find your way in. We'll focus on some slightly shorter holds here. Especially nice if you're a little bit newer to this style of yoga. Also great if you've done it before. So close the eyes. Feeling this nice tug, maybe all the way up into the armpits. This pose of surrender. Breathing in, breathing out. See if you can allow yourself to sink into this stillness and this quiet. Couple more moments here. We'll start to make our way out of the shape. I like to release the arms first. And then lift up, and you can just sit back here, hips to heels. Feeling a shift of the transition in the body. Then we'll set up for our next shape. So for this one, you probably won't need any props. You can set your blocks off to the side if you had them for puppy pose. We'll be coming into a thread the needle, and I like to, bring the knees a little bit wider, the big toes towards each other. You could do it with the knees stacked just underneath the hips. We'll start on the right side. So a big inhale opens up the right arm. And then your exhale takes you into the shape. You have options here for your top arm, so your left hand and arm in this case. You could use that left hand planting firmly into the mat for a little more stability, maybe taking you subtly more deeply into the twist. It can also feel nice to extend the left arm straight out overhead. Following the breath. What muscles can you soften here that you don't need to engage? That's part of our practice of Yin Yoga. What are you doing that you don't need to do, that you can soften or let go of? Let's start to unwind, press into your left hand, and both hands return to the mat. We'll take that over to our second side. Big inhale sends the left arm up. And use your exhale to release the left shoulder to the mat. You could always bring a small folded up blanket there for under the left shoulder. Feeling all the subtle sensations of the body. All the qualities and textures of your experience. Start to make your way out. Press the right hand down. Bring both hands back to the mat. And knees come together. We'll sit back one more time, hips to heels. Feeling those poses in the body. We talk about the after effects of the poses. Then we'll make our way into our dragon pose, our next shape. So I'll step my right foot up in between my hands. This is a great place for those blocks if you do have them, or if you have something else sturdy that you can build up a little bit. Just so your hands don't have to be quite so low down. We find they're a little more opening through the chest. And you have, as always, plenty of options here in terms of how the pose looks, what variation you choose. You could curl the back toes under if that feels more stable, top of the foot. You could come down onto the hands and bring them both over towards the left into more of this kind of lizard variation. Finally, you could open up the right foot a little further over towards the right. I'll stay there with that option on the blocks. We won't be here for very long. Settling into stillness as best you can. So noticing if any fidgeting happens, just taking note. But often, this is the real challenge of this yin yoga practice, is meeting the discomfort. So we are creating a little bit of sensation and potentially some discomfort. And meeting that with this softness and ease, and that can be challenging, with that quality of allowing. Of course, if at any point you're encountering any pain, so anything that's sharp or electric, that's your cue just to come out. Maybe find a different variation of the pose. But otherwise, we're exploring what it feels like to meet that discomfort. Make our way out, send the hips back, move as slow as you can go. Enjoy that transition. Hips to heels. You might turn palms face up. And then second side. Reconfigure your blocks. We'll step left foot forward. So you can always walk the right knee a little closer or a little further. So a little further for more sensation, closer for less sensation. And then you choose your variation. Making your micro adjustments, any adjustment you need so that you can come back to stillness. So you can draw that attention inwards, right into your experience. How can you meet yourself in this moment? Notice if you've started to grip here in the hips. You might experiment with releasing a little bit of that gripping, being aware that as you do that, the sensation might increase. So something to keep in mind, you could release a little bit of that quality of tension in the muscles and also come out of the shape ever so slightly. Make your way out, hips go back. This time, we'll transition into a seat. You can set your props to the side for the moment. Hands come to the thighs or the knees. We breathe in and we breathe out. Wide-legged forward fold. So this is our next shape here, and it is really nice to have plenty of props for any forward folding. I like to have my bolster here. If you come into this shape and you feel like you're here, so there's some rounding happening low down in the back, you're sinking forwards, definitely grab your blanket, fold it up, bring that to prop the hips on it, just like we did at the beginning of our practice. Sit forwards, coming off of your props so that you can feel the pelvis start to spill forwards. And that can bring a nicer quality there of relaxation to the pose so that you're not gripping and hanging on. So I'll bring a block as well for underneath my bolster. And then legs as wide or as close in together as you like. So if there's already a lot of sensation here, that tells you bring your legs in to a slightly narrower V. And then we'll simply come forwards. You're welcome to keep a longer spine. If it feels nice, you could round through the spine, rounding as much as you like to bring that stretch along the whole length of the back body. I like to even bring my bolster up to the forehead when I have a less slippery surface. So that could be an option for you here. We'll be here for a few minutes. Settle in. Allow the head to be heavy. How can you get comfortable with the discomfort? Maybe it's new for you to spend so much time in stillness, whether in your yoga practice or in your life. How can you get comfortable with the discomfort? Let's start to make our way up. Return to that neutral spine for a moment. We're moving now onto the back, transitioning into our final shape. So you can start to set your props off to the side, and then I like to bring my hands underneath the thighs and gently guide the feet closer together. Props off to the side, and if you like, you could bring a blanket down with you onto your back. We'll be coming into a simple recline twist, so it can be nice to have something either between the knees or underneath the bottom knee. So that could be a folded up blanket or maybe a small pillow. If you like that variation, bring it on down with you. And then I'll bring my arms to sort of a rough cactus shape. You could certainly extend them out to a T. And then hips go over towards the left so that knees can fall over towards the right. Use that prop for underneath the knees here. Maybe you've realized that would feel good. You can grab it now. We'll come into stillness. Shoulders and arms relax. If you find that the left shoulder is lifting here up off the mat, you could grab yourself a second blanket and bring it underneath to support. Let's breathe down into the belly. Start to unravel the pose. Feet come back to the mat. And pause there for a moment in between. Arms along the sides of the body. Then we'll take it over into the second side. Set up your arms, hips to the right this time, so knees can come to the left. Allowing for what is here in this moment. Allowing the thoughts in the mind. Maybe the emotions attached to those thoughts. Allowing for the experience in the body. Breathe down into the belly, the low belly. And we'll make our way out of the shape. Feel the spine shift back to neutral. Pause there. Make your way over onto either side of the body. We'll find a seat. We'll end our practice with a few rounds of Nadi Shodhana. So this is our alternate nostril breathing. And I'll guide you through the first few rounds, so no worries if this is new to you. If it's familiar, you could get going right away. So whichever your dominant hand is, that's my right hand for me, you'll bring that hand up, and I like to use the thumb and the pinky finger. You could also use thumb and ring finger, and then I'll bring my other fingers in towards the palm, pinky and thumb out. And I'll be using those fingers to alternately close off one nostril and then the other. And I'll show you how it goes. So first, inhale in through both. Then I'll use thumb blocking right nostril and exhale out through the left side. We inhale in through the left side. And now we switch. So plug the left nostril with the pinky, exhale out through the right side. Inhale in through the right side. Plug and switch. So right side plugged with the thumb, exhale through left. Inhale through left. Plug and switch, exhale through right. Now you can move at your own pace, follow the pace of your own breath. And all you're doing is switching for each exhale. Then you inhale through the same side and switch. I like to close my eyes so I can really tune into how it feels. This is a really calming and balancing breath. Nice, really appropriate for any time of day. One of my favorites. We'll do one more round, full round wherever you are. And we'll end up breathing out through the left side. So next time you exhale through the left, let that be your last. You can release your hand back to the thighs, and then big inhale through both sides. And big exhale. Take a moment to notice how the poses and the breath have landed in the body. In your experience, what perhaps has shifted. Maybe it was challenging. Maybe it was enjoyable. So notice whatever that experience was, positive or negative. One more moment to allow. And I hope you carry this quality into the rest of your day or your evening. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week with our final practice. Let's draw the hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.